I'm Jeremy, this is your Geek Fix, and last time we made this a giant vault door completely out of wood using the Genmitsu 4040 Reno. And to cut something flat like this into a 3D object, you just insert a 3D file, used Easel Pro to make the G-code, and then it just cut it out. And from there I painted it, first with a primer, and then with some of this hammered metal paint, some blue lacquer, and a little yellow paint, and then weathered it live to look like this. I mean, how cool is that? But this time, we're gonna go three-dimensional. That's actually 3D cutting using their rotary tool. Better stay tuned. This is your Geek Fix. This has been quite a learning experience and adventure. I think I said last time I wanted a CNC machine forever. But of course, they're usually, thousands of dollars, at least over $1,000. In this particular case, this thing right here goes for about $450, which is pretty awesome. I mean, that's about the same as what you would pay for most 3D printers. And we're talking something that's pretty high grade, does some really amazing things. We've already done something amazing with it that I really love. Again, if I was to try and 3D print something this big, it would have taken me a long time. I mean, probably at least a day just to print one of these. Whereas this can cut it out not only in a fraction of that time, but then I can replicate that. I could cut out a whole bunch of these out of the same size wood, and it would come out great. I did learn last time I don't like cutting using basswood. So that was something I wanted to kind of avoid this time, because that kind of wood does tend to have a little bit of tearing to it. It's not very clean in the way that it gets cut. So my plan was to use something a little bit harder, and we have that opportunity because we want to make something now that's three-dimensional, an actual 3D object. And what's cool about this is they have a rotary tool that attaches to it on the front, just like this. And so at this point in time, the only two directions that the CNC machine is going is back and forth this way and then up and down. And then the rotary tool is slowly turning it on the other axis. My daughter made this at school. It's pretty awesome, really great job. Made this out of wood. And I thought, one of the things that would be cool to make with it is to be able to make some chess pieces, right? Especially if we could do something that was themed as far as a chess piece goes. I looked into some like Warhammer pieces, something like that. In the end, I found these 3D files for this Capybara Pawn. It has a little sword and things. I thought that looked pretty cool. It looked like it would be a reasonable shape to try and cut with this as our first shape. At the same time, last time we picked something that was kind of complex. This time we're doing the same thing. We're picking something that's probably not beginner level. Now I say we because once again, Dane helped me out in being able to do this, but he is gone now. He left today to go back to college to study engineering, which is awesome. I kind of needed that level of help, so feel free and wish him luck in the comments below. But he helped me out a lot with this, so being able to set up the files and get things going was really a two-person project in this case, and I really appreciated his help. Especially since in this case, we didn't think that we could use Easel Pro. We used it last time. You might remember that when we tried to run it through other programs, it took several minutes for it to create the G-code. And G-code is what tells the cutter or the printer or the laser cutter, basically the battle plan of how to approach this project. What parts to cut first and in what direction in order to make it the most efficient and also look the best. Unfortunately, this time we couldn't find where Easel Pro could do the rotary piece. It's not that they don't, we weren't able to find that function. And so instead we ran it through Desk Proto, which does the job just great, just fine. The problem is, in order to not have it cut kind of a watermark into the whole thing, you have to buy the full version. And that was like a couple $100. And so we decided we'd just go ahead and deal with the watermark. Plus the way that I wanted to put it on that Capybara looked like it would look kind of cool. It kind of does it across the back. It might look like it was intentional. So we just left that. But it did it. It created this file, which tells it the direction, and you can see all the way around. It tells it how to cut it, how deep, layer to layer, step by step, from beginning to end. But it also estimated that it would only take about 2 hours to cut, and something in the way that we did it took a little way longer. So it's not the cutter itself, but the way that the program was telling it to go about the project that made it go much slower, that made it take longer. And I can't tell you for sure if having it go longer gave it more detail, or if it would be about the same either way. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of setup or a lot of the factors that we covered in the last video. If you want to check that out, check out this other video that's up here or in the description below. But when we were going to set it up, we initially thought from the instructions that there was a greater limit in the size of the chuck. That's the size of the piece that fits inside of that clamped area that will hold that piece on. You can cut square pieces, you can cut round dowel pieces if you want to. In this case, we were cutting a dowel, and initially we thought that it was up to 22 millimeters that we could cut. So we were kind of going with a small piece to be able to cut. You do need to make sure that the whole thing is level in order to be able to cut that evenly. It also has a test where you use basically some paper in between to see that it's touching exactly in the same spot all the way along before you go cutting it. You also have to set the bit to be right in the center of that wood. And once when you've done that, you're ready to start cutting. In this case, we use candle to be able to do the cutting portion, and away it went. Just like with the vault door, it's doing this in 2 passes. The first pass is a rough cut, so it's just cutting out the general shapes that we're going to be able to need before it goes back and does the details. And initially, with the G code, we had set it up so that it would do it in 2 separate passes. So the first time around, when it did the rough cut, we could do it with a larger bit, in this case a 1/8 bit, and then we could step it down to something that was a higher detail, something that would be a little bit more fine. But in the end, we actually just used the 1/8 bit for both the rough cut and the details. So off it went, and hours later we discovered there was a problem. It had cut in the wrong direction, and so I cut off the piece on the right side, which meant that it had nothing to hold it up and it just fell down. And again, that had to do with the G code. It had told it to go in the wrong direction. And so we had to go back in, we flipped that over, and then it began cutting in the right direction. And when it was done, we had something this small. Look how tiny that is. It cut all of that out in pretty good detail too. Pretty impressive. Of course, we still have this piece down here that I need to cut off if we just want the little base. And when I did that, it literally vaporized. I mean, it was just gone. So I reached out to Jimitsu and found out that actually the size of what we could stick into that chuck was a little closer to 2 inches. And so we got a much larger piece of dowel, both because I thought it would be stronger if we did have to cut it or anything again, but also we'd be able to have more detail, because naturally the larger it is, the more detail it can cut. And once again, it began this long journey. Now it's going to be a little bit longer because we're talking about a larger piece. And I believe the way I understand it too is while the chuck piece has to be a certain scale, the piece that it's cutting can be slightly larger. So I have seen where people had the chuck portion was smaller and then it expanded to a larger piece that was being cut. And so maybe we could have even done it larger than this. But either way, the difference was pretty dramatic. This time I also decided to cut indoors. Initially I was cutting outdoors. I actually even showed on the live stream it cutting the first piece. But the problem was it's so hot this summer, and I thought it was going to pretty much blow up my computer or ruin it. And also I noticed that the machine itself was getting a little bit hotter. So we brought it inside, and this time we cut indoors. But keep in mind, if you do things indoors, and this is producing a lot of sawdust, really fine powder sawdust. But unlike when we cut the vault door, I don't have to worry about that sawdust building up or negatively affecting the cut, because all of it just falls down and none of it's on the actual object itself. The only thing that I didn't anticipate was that it was doing a really good job, and it was cutting away, and then suddenly, oh gosh, basically what happened was these two pieces were still together, and I was thinking, well, maybe I should remove this piece at some point in time, and I didn't, because I knew it was still somewhat attached, and I didn't want to throw it off even, a micro parcel, because I was afraid that it would then ruin the rest of the cut. But because it broke down, it knocked, physically pushed that bit over, and then it cut into the head right here. And so I knew it was already out of alignment at that point, and I stopped the cut where it was. So is this as much detail as it could have had? I don't know. So of course I can cut it again, and it does come out much better. But there are some things to be aware of. Number one being that there was a little bit of a learning curve. Now, we had not worked with anything like this exactly before, and we were still able to get really good cuts. This was not our first attempt, but this was our first finished product, and it came out great. This took a few times, but at the same time, it also, in the end, came out really good. But there are some things that we kind of learned from trial and error that you might want to be aware of. As I mentioned earlier, one of the first things that we kind of learned in the last video is that using easel was one of the benefits that we had. Up to that point, we were really struggling with making that G-code. This is a lot going to be about G-code and how you make it and how well you can do that. And the thing about easel for this was that as soon as we put in that 3D file, it took a few seconds and had already created that G-code. We were good to go. We had no problems after that. And we really think that if we would have started off with that program, and it would have saved us a lot of time. A lot of these programs are not free, and so making a decision about which one is going to best help you or help you to perform things is something to look into. There is a discount for easel. You can also have a free trial, so you can try out, and I think that's true with a lot of these, that there is a free trial that you can use that can do a lot of things. Unfortunately, with easel, we did have to use the Pro version to be able to get it to figure out that G-code. Des Proto puts that watermark on whatever it cuts, and so everything becomes more like a demo version unless you're willing to pay the full price. There are several 3D programs that also have the ability to do this to a certain extent, but again, they take a lot longer, and we found that they just had a lot of errors. Another thing that I mentioned in the last video is that there are also other parts you can buy for this for having to do a lot of other things, and depending on the kind of project that you want to do, you're going to need the bits to match that. We didn't use the bits that this initially came with. We had to buy bits that are specifically for doing the types of things we were looking at that we knew tend to work a little bit better for 3D objects. And so there's flat end bits, there are round end bits, and those you have to decide based on the project. There's plenty of information online to guide you through that. Sainsmart has several of those products that you can buy, and a lot of add-ons that are kind of ready to go. You can also go to Amazon and things like that to find the thing that fits what you're trying to do. So there's not really like just a one thing cuts all. You're needing to tailor based on the product you do. But at the same time, when you have it, I can go back and now I can just reproduce this as many times as I want. So I've been excited about getting this sort of thing for a while. One of the reasons is because I have a fear of a lot of tools, because I know too many people who have lost fingers and done things with different tools. And so the idea of something that you can just stick something into, step away from it, and then it does things on its own for the most part, I really like. I like that idea. But on the flip side, I will say there's still danger there. I mean, you still have to be aware and be careful. This is not a toy. It still has its dangers. And surprisingly, when we first got this and we were setting it up, I was actually attaching this tool to the base, and the bit was actually over to the side, and my hand was underneath it, but I wasn't even aware of it. I didn't even think twice that it was that much of a problem. And that original bit that we were using was so sharp that at one point in time, I accidentally lifted up my hand and it went into my hand. And then I got surprised, pulled it away, and it made a large cut that actually did result in me having to go to the ER, and I had to get sutures And that's not the fault of the machine. It was the blade and the fact that I wasn't respecting the fact that that could happen. So, I mean, you still have to be cautious. We still have to be careful. And that's something I'd highly recommend. Just like you should do with all tools, really. What do I think of this router? Now that we've used it in 2 different ways, I think I've already said, it's got to be the best tool that we have. I mean, it's able to do stuff that blows everything else out of the water, because I don't need filament. I can cut out of pretty much anything. I can cut in 3D, I can cut on a 2D plane, and we can make things that are really impressive with it. And we have some big projects coming up that this should solve the production of. This will make it a lot easier and faster for me to be able to make things. But I also have a rule. I've always maintained on this channel, I don't want to get stuff that isn't reasonably within the realm of what other people could get or use or find nearby them. When I first started the channel a little over 6 years ago, I wouldn't do anything with a 3D printer, for example. But now most people have access to 3D printers, or they own one. You can get laser cutters now in the low hundreds. And this under $500 is a really good price for something that I feel like has more functionality actually than my printers or my laser cutters. Having a home makerspace is becoming more and more realistic and accessible. And for that reason, I want to know what you're making. I want to know the things that you're turning out. And I'm hoping that you also bring those things over to show to me. I'm going to be in a few places this year. For example, in November, I'll be at the New York City Comic-Con. I will be at the Fallout event in Good Springs. And then I will also be in parts of LA the week before that. And I'll give you updated information about that, because I would like to meet you. And I'm also going to be giving away some things that I am making right now for free at those events. So please let me know if you're going to be there, or please come say hi. And you'll have a very good chance of going home with something that we have from this channel. You can check out more information about this cutter down below, as well as the 3D file that we used. Like, subscribe, comment below, and stay tuned for more of your Geek Fix.